Hello, beloved ones. Hopefully you're seeing me out there. I'm just going to go over and double check. I'm about ready to start this live cast, but I'm going to go over and double check to make sure that I see myself. Here we go. Um, Pardon me for a moment to undo this and double check. Let's see. Let's see if I see myself here. Okay, I see myself. So we'll see that. So it doesn't drive us crazy. All right, let's start the slideshow again then. So very good. Hello, hello. Welcome to you all. Hopefully, we've got some people who are excited about this broadcast, this live cast. I've been very excited about it. I was tapped on the shoulder by, that divine little tap. And so here we are. So the question is, are you fed up and ready to step out on the skinny branches? And what do we mean by that? Like it's kind of like the world out there. It has been a little nerve-wracking to try to speak to some people about some of these issues, right? Because there's a craziness out there. You've probably noticed, right? And so it's almost like we're going out on a limb even to speak to people about anything to do with the crazy goings on in our country. So, but are we at that point where no matter what, we actually need to go out on a limb? By the way, I'm doing this by PowerPoint because there's a particular thing, a way that I'd like you to sort of view this that I think is most powerfully presented in a PowerPoint. So let me go to the next slide here. Let's see. My name is Lorelei Fenton. You see that little seagull there? That means to take a screenshot. And I'm suggesting that right at this moment, you actually do take a screenshot right here of this, because we're going to be talking about things that the CENsers do not like us to talk about here anywhere online, which is another crazy thing, right? When did that happen in our world, right? And that's one of the reasons why I have created a lot of videos. You can see my uncensored videos there on the BitChute page. And I've created them over on BitChute because of the censorship. Okay? I don't know if I'll get around them today. We'll see what happens. But in the event that I don't, or that this goes down afterwards, this is where you're going to go, because I will remake this and I will put it there. So no worries, you will see it one way or the other. But please do, take your screenshot. I'll give you a few seconds to do that. Okay, hopefully you did that. Now, you also see there about me, follow, support, and resources. Like I have told you, I've been doing this for maybe 7 years. I've been making these videos. A lot of them were more in the world of creating the new earth of love, which I think is coming. But this stuff came up in our faces, didn't it? Like, you cannot not address what's going on out in the world, in our country, and in the world itself. So I have had to take a side step over to this, because otherwise it's almost like putting an icing on a mud pie. How can you talk about creating a world of peace and love and joy and harmony when all of this horrible stuff is happening? So that's been my little side step. I call it kind of walking the tightrope here, because it's like, okay, on this side of the tightrope is the new earth of love, and you want to be in those spaces of bliss and joy and peace and all that in your life, right? But also there's this stuff tugging at you. Oh my God, there's insanity tugging you over this way to the other side. And you have to address it to some point, because it's pulling on your clothing, right? so, so that's why I actually came over to here to YouTube, and I may attempt to create a presence here on YouTube as well. I am going to attempt. I'm not. Let me take that back. I am going to create a presence here on YouTube as well. But whether it's allowed for me to speak as I would like to speak, we shall see. But it would be appreciated if you like this channel and follow this channel, as well as on the About Me, all the different things I do. I do a lot of things. I'm a transformational personal growth aficionado, I would say. I help people to resolve past experiences that have plagued them for a lifetime. So there's a lot of things that I do. It's my first YouTube live stream, let me tell you that. So unfortunately, I'm not going to be able to deal with this chat and reaction business. First of all, because I want you to follow this PowerPoint. It's so important, I think, for you to follow this PowerPoint. And second of all, because I just don't know the system well enough yet to be trying to figure that out. I just want to figure out how to get this thing out to you right now. So that's where we're at in that. Okay. Objectives. We have a couple of objectives here. One is to consolidate and make sense of the recent, what I would say, diabolical happenings in our country. And most of these are coming from the liberal left, let's be honest, and from current or similar administrations. That's my number one. And my next one is to provide concrete ideas for how we can impact the direction of our country, individually and or together. Now, let me for a moment just put me on a little bigger screen. See if I can remember how to do this. For just a moment so you can see me a little better. So my friends, you may or may not know some of the stuff I'm going to bring to you. Some of you know everything I'm going to say here on every single slide. I know that, I already know that. For those of you that know that, please stick around for the end, because there will be an opportunity for us to find ways to work together to bring some new understandings to the world. Whatever we're going to do to impact this issue, please stick around. If you do know most of what I'm telling you. Now, some of you may not have been in this conversation for as long. Maybe you've been in it, a year, 2 years, 3 years, 6 months. I don't know. So that's why I want to bring to you all the information, all the knowledge, all the understanding. Well, I can't bring you it all, but but at least some reasonable amounts that I have accumulated over the past 7 or 8 years, so that you can sort of catch up, so to speak. Now, you can be. It's okay that you didn't know this, right? There was a really strong push to have people not know everything that I'm about to bring to you and show you. So don't worry about that, please. The fact that you're looking into it now is so important. It's such a huge deal. So I don't want you to concern yourself. I happen to be thrown into the world of understanding what was going on behind the scenes in our government about maybe 11 years ago. And it was through no fault of my own. Before that, I was a bit of a kumbaya. Oh, yeah, everybody love everybody, and that's all fine and well and good if the world isn't committing these horrific crimes against people. You can't just let that slide. You can't just let that go. So I want to acknowledge you wherever you're at. If you've been, a week in understanding this, 6 months, a year, 4 years, maybe some of you are 20 years and you got one up on me, and you can leave me some information in the comments. But wherever you're at right here, right now is great. So perfect. Here we go. Let's get back to the PowerPoint because I think it's pretty helpful. Okay. So once again, we have our objectives, and we're going to take a good bit of time on number one. Okay. So, and as we see now, let me get to the next page, because I think this is important. Now, here's my disclaimer. I'm not saying that all of what I show you here is definitely true. I believe it's true. If I did not believe it was true, I would not even show it to you. I have done enough research that I myself believe it is true. But I am saying that there are at least enough questionable happenings around us, in our world, in our country, to make us all ask, what the heck is going on? And I have some ideas about what's going on. Now, I've seen a lot of evidence, like I said, but you starting now, or wherever you started, wherever it was, it's about doing your own research. Now I'm giving you some little ticklers. Okay, you say, well, I'm not sure I believe that. Go find out, my friends. Go find out. And please get off of Google and the mainstream. They're not going to tell you the truth. So, you go over to one of the platforms such as DuckDuckGo that lets more information in. You're going to have to scroll way down because they're going to tell you it's all debunked. It's not true. It's not this. It's not that. But I highly question whether a lot of this was debunked and is not true, because I was in on seeing it at the very beginning when we saw the direct sources for these things. Now, I started at one point to keep a tracking sheet of direct sources, which I call Truth in Media Resource Sheet. That's definitely worth taking a look at on my About Me page. You can find the link there. But after a while, it was just too difficult to try to save all this stuff. And then some of them do go away in this world. So please do take a look at that Truth in Media Resource Sheet, and do look for yourself and go far into looking for it. Go to the sources to look for it. Don't believe what they tell you out there, because we found over and over a lot of it's not true. Here we go. Yep. So this is where I want to come at it from, because this is what I see, as you can imagine, might be possible. So let's consider this question. What are the strategies used to collapse governments and free societies? For instance, to usher in control governments such as communism, fascism, Nazism, dictatorships, etc., etc. There are a lot of different forms. This picture, by the way, is a picture of the massacre at Tiananmen Square. It was not a pretty sight when the people tried to have something to say about how their world was going. And I'm concerned about how our world is going right now. So what are the strategies used to collapse governments and free societies? I'm pulling these from what occurred in Russia, Cuba, Venezuela, Germany, in Nazism, China, and the CIA, what they do in other countries, right? Never in our own, of course, they would never do that. Now, I'm pulling it from a general all-around knowledge that most people who know a little bit about history know, and I happen to be a history buff, so I know quite a bit about history. So, so I know that all these things that I'm saying here have occurred in all of it. Let's put it this way. All of those countries had at least a fair amount of these things going on. If every country didn't have everything, I don't know. But they each had at least a fair amount of these things going on, based on what I know from knowing history pretty well. And I suggest, since they stopped teaching history in the school system, which is very, very terrible, one of the worst things they ever did. Maybe it's good for them, who knows, right? But I mean, whoever the powers that be are when I say them, right? Um, they stopped teaching that. So if you're young, and this is no offense to you or anything, but they haven't been teaching you right. So you need to go out and learn about history. At least, I don't say you need to, but it would benefit you to go out and learn the true history in these various areas of where these control governments were brought in: Russia, Cuba, Venezuela, Germany, China, and also what the CIA has done in other quote unquote countries. So I'm going to read them through. Creation of chaos, fear, and wars. The more they can create chaos and fear, the more they could be the one to swoop in and solve the problem for you. Take away all of your rights and swoop in and solve the problem. Setting one group against another, bad guy group. Now you can have other people go out and shut everybody up and keep everybody in line for you by setting up a bad guy group and a good guy group. Right? So the bad guy group right now, well, we've got a lot. We're going to go into that. Believe me, there's a slide on that. So we've got multiple bad guy groups, by the way. But you can have other people do your work for you by setting people against each other. And then it creates more chaos and fear and all of that. Stifling of free speech. This is obvious. You cannot have people telling the tale on what you're actually trying to do if you're trying to collapse a society or a government, right? You must stifle free speech. Jailing of enemies, which is what I'm going to call a mock justice system. Killing of enemies, which is mock investigations. Investigations that are really not investigations. They already determined from the beginning what they were going to have that investigation say. And so they go with that. It's kind of like out in the world, there are something called doorknob suicides, where people allegedly kill themselves by hanging themselves on a doorknob. Yes, right. and police go forward and say, oh, yes, that was a suicide. Really? I know of no known way. Well, yeah, I'm not the smartest person in the world, maybe, but I can tell you that I could not kill myself by hanging myself on a doorknob. I'm pretty sure of that. So this is like mock investigation. So the police go along, they say, no, we've decided from the get-go it was going to be a suicide. And I'm not saying all police. Most police are wonderful, but some of them. And then, of course, jailing of enemies, you have the system, the justice system going along and just saying, yes, they're guilty or they did this, and even though it's a non-crime or whatever, they go along with it. So the creation of lack, scarcity, especially food scarcity, that's a big one. That was done in China. Mao Zedong literally killed half of his population by starvation, directly in order to bring in communism. He caused it so he could bring in communism. Because there again, if people are starving, they're going to do what we say. They're going to give up all of their freedoms. And that's why we had them land, I don't know, 60 years later. I don't know when that happened, but in Tiananmen Square, right? Dead. So, when they tried to rise up against this government, the government had taken away all of their power. Propaganda, lies presented as truth. That's a very big one. I won't go into a whole story about my husband and I when we went on our honeymoon to Russia. We were history buffs. We loved it. We had a great time. But it was just as the changeover was happening from the Soviet Union. And I will tell you that we drove around the tanks during the storming of the Capitol in 1993. And I even checked the dates to make sure I'm right on this. It was the November of 1993, and that's when we were on our honeymoon. And we drove around the tanks. We did not know this was not normal. There was no understanding that they didn't always have tanks there all the time, right? Until we got out of the country 3 days later, and we saw on the TV in Estonia about the storming of the Capitol that we drove around. Because they would not tell us that. On the TV was, oh, Russia is the greatest country. The USSR is the greatest. They didn't call it country. They call it a conglomerate of countries or whatever. The USSR is doing well all over the world. The USSR is conquering their enemies. The USSR is creating the best life for everyone. Bull crap. We saw the bread lines too, by the way, or I don't know if they're exactly bread lines, but people standing in line for a long time for these things. There's a whole story with that. I could go up forever on that one, but let me move on. Amoral actions committed without any conscience whatsoever. That's a popular one in pulling down a country. Bribery, threatening, blackmail, obviously. Mock and rigged elections, obviously. The people are not going to vote people in that treat them badly. So you must rig the elections. And victimizing the helpless. Again, obviously, it's another form of creating fear and chaos and making sure you stand in line. If you know we're going to do this to you, we're going to harm you, so you better just stay in line. Or we're already doing this to other people, so the rest of you better stay in line. So these are the things. I know there are more, by the way, but there's only so much room on a PowerPoint that you can bring it all forward. So here we go. Let's look at the realm of chaos, fear, and wars and what has happened in our country. We have the hurricanes, and there was massive numbers of hurricanes a few years ago. Do you remember that? Just like every couple of weeks was a huge, enormous hurricane. And then now out comes this question mark, which even our very congressmen say that there is the ability for the government to manipulate the weather. And we're understanding this thing called HAARP. What's going on there? What's going on there? Because it was very convenient how that hurricane happened right in Trump country. Both states, Trump country. I don't know, but it's questionable. You've got, of course, illegal immigrants coming in by the masses. 20 million, I think they said. Of course, the Antifa BLM riots back a few years ago when they didn't like, they wanted to say, okay, this is how it's going to go, whether you guys like it out there or not, what we say is going to go, like the Nazi brown shirts, right? Then the Wuhan lab in China, we had the Some call it the plandemic or the scamdemic. Certainly it was real, but it was, yeah, there's a good lot of thought that it could have been planned. So the Wuhan lab in China and Afghanistan, the leaving of all of our weapons, bringing our troops out before anything else and just leaving it all there. And by the way, this happened with Obama too, as we now know, as he left like massive amounts of our weaponry and tanks and everything else in the desert and told our troops, just cover it over with a tarp and leave it. And guess who came and got it? Of course. Well, of course, the terrorists. So you've got the Ukraine versus Russia versus the UN. The UN now is taking sides here, and they want to get involved and get us involved. We got Israel versus Palestine and the Hamas terrorists and all of that. We've got school shooters. We got immigrant violence. We got taking away of guns. We've got fentanyl coming in all over the place, human trafficking. I mean, if you look, okay, we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 different types, just different types of creating chaos. So now I've made a little chart here because I'm also a teacher, by the way, or I was a teacher for a number of years. So I want to kind of check this off. So I'm putting 4 X's, and that means to me there are at least 4 different types of chaos that are being created. And I'm putting 4 pluses, which means, and there's massive amounts of different times that they're committing those chaos. Now we saw 7 or 8 there, but I'm going on the low side. And I want you to remember I'm going on the low side. And there's a reason I want to kind of set it up this way, because you're going to see something that's really important. So I'm going on the low side. So get that. Understand that, okay? And remember it. So here we go to the next one. Setting one group against another. Okay, we got one side on Republican, one side Democrats, set them against each other. MAGA's all terrorists, right? You got people say, like, you're not going to come in here if you don't have a mask. If you didn't take the vax, you're not coming in here. You got people calling Trump Hitler. You have critical race theory is being taught in schools. I don't know if you guys know about what critical race theory is, but they basically say all of you whites are holding down all of the blacks and the Hispanics and everything else. They say this to 6-year-olds. They stand them over there in the line over there. Say, you guys are the oppressors and you guys are the oppressed. What? I mean, what? The insanity. And this is true. I want you to know we have seen videos of people saying this is happening. People telling their stories over and over and over again. So that's critical race theory, which is being taught in the schools. And of course, the Black Lives Matter, saying as if in America today, we don't know that every life matters. Of course, Black lives matter. So do Hispanic lives, white lives, Chinese lives, Ukrainian lives, Korean lives. Every single life matters, and we know that. And there's nobody trying to oppress. I mean, there may be individuals, obviously, who have racism going on or whatever, but as a whole, I mean, from what I see, as a whole, there's nobody trying to oppress some one group in this country, except if we look at the left, because they seem to be trying to oppress us from speaking out, right? But that's another story. We'll get to that. And trans women are real women. They're even setting up that, we have this whole thing about who's a real woman, and we're going to put trans people into women's sports, and now they're at odds with each other. So let's see, we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 different ways here. There's probably more, and there's many times they're doing these 6 different ways. So there again, I'm going to give it 4, at least 4 plus. Okay, moving along. Stifling of speech. Stifling of our speech and coining of the term misinformation or disinformation. So we've got social media censorship. We've got over here, this was from the certain laptop that they called, well, I don't know how much I can say. They called it the laptop from H-E double toothpick, right? And some certain very famous individual who was a son to a president was involved. That was his laptop. Couldn't say a word about that. I was here. I tried. You cannot say a word about it on Facebook, here, there, and everywhere. Now we have over here this gentleman on these athletes. We had these athletes, and we still have them just literally dropping dead. People literally dropping dead or getting incredibly ill. And it happened right after that vaccine. And it's been happening ever since that vaccine in massive numbers, way bigger than ever before. Way, way, way bigger. Like, we're talking about time to double, triple, quadruple the amounts of these various illnesses. I teach a course, by the way, Detox the VAX. Detox the VAX. No, I forget. So it's on detoxing the I don't want to say. So yes, you can detox the VAX. Okay, so that course is all about natural healing, and we must bring it to the forefront. But anyway, there you have. We couldn't talk about that online. I'm still not sure I can talk about it here. Now, this was completely disallowed. You could not talk about that thing that happened on the 6th day of the first month of the year 4 years ago. I guess it's been 4 years now. You could not talk about that. Okay? You couldn't say a word except if you were saying that it really was this insurrection, quote unquote. You could not talk about it to say anything different. And then here's something that's been stifled completely. And I'm going to read this for you because it's so important. It's going to show up later. This is from Senator Roy Blunt, and he published this. According to @Missing Kids, reports of suspected child sex trafficking increased 846% from 2010 to 2015. This was a while back, but there's some reason why I'm telling you. It's time to do everything we can. #end human trafficking. Now it says here, several groups of African children may have arrived in Belfast in a shipping container. Really, in a shipping container. And also, flashback shipping container full of body parts of Americans discovered on Chinese cargo ship. Now, this entire thing has disappeared off the internet. I cannot even find it because there's another picture of it, a picture of human trafficking, which is a much more recent example. And there's information about that picture underneath this. And we're going to come back to that, by the way, later on. But I cannot find those articles anymore whatsoever. All I could find was one picture that had been taken. Someone smart enough to take a picture. So, and then of course up in the corner here, who fact checks the fact checkers? We really like to know that. Who do they think they are to be telling us what's true, right, and correct? And who checks you, right? And I'm pretty sure it's nobody. I'm pretty sure they don't know anything, and they just are hitting a computerized program that says search for this word and that word and the other word. And when you find it, give a fact check, or if you're on Facebook or Rumble or Facebook or some of the other platforms, take it down. And that's what's happened. Tons and tons and tons of people had their sites literally taken down. So we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then many, many different times. And there's just 5 examples here. So we're going to go with the same thing again. I'm keeping this consistent for a reason. You'll see why later. Once again, plenty of evidence for 4 X's and 4 pluses. Now moving to jailing of enemies. So we have here, of course, President Trump. They're trying very hard to put him in there. Mr. Bannon, Mr. The former mayor of New York, a very much revered man, trying to get him into the jail. 800 plus protesters. Let me just be clear. As far as we know, they're still not out, and they still haven't been charged or convicted. 800 plus, and we're told more like 1,000. I'm going low on the 800. For what? For one person died, as far as we know, and that was shot by a policeman. And a bunch of suicides of policemen after the fact. Let's talk about that later. Okay? And then, of course, the general here that we see with the first name Michael. And then all of these guys in the administration, all of these folks in the administration, they have at least tried to jail them, or else brought them over to the other side by saying, we won't jail you, and we'll even pay you probably. don't quote me here, but probably when the dust clears, we'll find that to be true. We won't jail you if you'll come and say that this guy over here with the orange man bad guy committed a crime. If you say orange man bad committed a crime, we won't jail you. Wow, isn't that just precious? So we have, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, plus 600, plus 800, 816. I mean, I'd like to fill, that's my timer telling me that it's how much time it's been. I'd like to fill the entire page with that. I could, but we're going to give it 4 pluses, just like the rest, just to keep it consistent. Okay, mock investigations and strange deaths, or is this the killing of enemies in question mark? So we have this guy here who was, you might know his name because he's one of the most well-known antivirus owners on the planet. Strange death. We have 5 police suicides after January 6th. They killed themselves because it was so traumatizing to them to see this insurrection without any guns, by the way. And of course, these big, burly police officers who have seen everything. Oh, this is horrible. So they had to kill themselves. Now, I'm not mocking those police officers. I don't think they killed themselves. I think there was something much more sinister going on. I think they saw something. Okay, but that's another story, okay? So I'm definitely not mocking them. God bless them. Let's send the light to them and their families, and let's hope the truth comes out at some point. Now we have this guy with the last name like he's got a lot of money. Okay, this gentleman who was a whistleblower about the HC election, where she was running to be the president against Trump, right? Remember that? And he blew the whistle on some goings on with the Democrat Party and was about to bring the full information forward to Congress or whatever. And lo and behold, he got mugged and killed, shot in the back. But it's very interesting that he got mugged and nobody took anything. Isn't that very interesting? Then we have this gentleman, Mr. R.D. Steele, who was a big-time whistleblower. He had been in the CIA. He was blowing the whistle on all of their antics. And he was very much talking about, don't take the vax, don't take the vax. And then very conveniently, on his Freedom Trail, a whole bunch of patriots were going around the country on this Freedom Trail, like caravan, going all around, doing rallies and everything else. Very conveniently, he died of COVID. Isn't that convenient? And then, of course, the cook from former president. As we all know, the wife there is very upset and she is not at all happy. I mean, we all know who it is. I have seen some of the things she's had to say, which indicate, without really saying it right out, that she's not really unhappy with this whole business of thinking that he died accidentally. So there's a strange death and a mock investigation. The other gentleman's strange death. This one's strange death, mock investigation. Police strange death, mock investigation. Then we have something called the CLINTON kill list, which is a list of all the people close to the CLINTONs who have died mysteriously. 47 of them. 47! I personally don't know a single person who died mysteriously. Now let me stretch my imagination and say, okay, you're in the world, you know a lot more people than I do probably, and a lot of them are in dangerous occupations. So let me stretch my imagination. I could stretch it to maybe 5 to 10, but 47? Oh no. Oh no. Mm-mm. And then there's SEAL team and the number 6 and this helicopter crash. 20 plus Navy SEALs who quote unquote witnessed the quote unquote death of Osama bin Laden. Oops. We sent them down in a really horrible helicopter in the middle of a terrible storm. We sent them out. We knew the helicopter was falling apart. We knew the storm was terrible, but we just sent them out, all of them. And whoops, all of them who could say whether Osama bin Laden actually died or not, dead. Isn't that very interesting? Those families are not happy. So I don't know, 47, 50, 52, 53, 54, 55, 56, 76. I think we've got plenty enough information here to say 4 X's and 4 pluses. Okay, food scarcity and lack. Particularly food, but scarcity and lack. We've had Biden sanctioned Russia, by the way, and said no more fertilizer from our largest supplier of fertilizer. So very interestingly now, food prices have skyrocketed. Egg prices have soared. You've seen this. You guys know all this, right? We had no baby food for months on end, right? The shelves were empty. Meanwhile, there were 96 mysterious fires and explosions in food plants. That's taken directly from a website of mysterious fires happening. A website like a government kind of website that itemized these. 96 mysterious fires and explosions in food plants from 2021 to 2022. Isn't that so convenient? And all of those were destroyed, all of those plants, 96 of them. Meanwhile, we've got farmers telling us the government knocked on my door and said, we're going to kill all of your chickens. And we said, but you didn't even test them. And they said, it doesn't matter. We're killing them all. We know they have it. Bull crap. And we got story after story after story. You got to understand, I've been watching these videos a long time. So at that time, the farmers were telling their story. And it was not pretty. So food scarcity and lack, oh my goodness. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 96, 101. We can easily go with 4 X's and 4 pluses. I want to move a little bit more quickly because I know I don't want this to be forever and a day. Propaganda, lies presented as truth. Tucker Carlson clearly showed us with the actual footage in the Capitol what insurrection. They were walking around happy as clams. The police were clapping them on the back. Hey, good to see you. They opened the doors for them. This guy, this shaman got down on his knees and thanked God for how wonderful the police were. Kid you not. That's that terrible shaman. He thanked God for the police being so wonderful and helping us to bring forth the truth. That's that terrible shaman with the horns there, right? I guess nowadays, if you wear horns, you're a bad person. Okay? We have Kamala Harris telling us Joe Biden is an extremely accomplished, experienced, and capable in every way that anyone would want if they're president. That is her direct quote. I'm a certified teacher. You have a few nouns missing. You have a noun missing there? Joe Biden is extremely accomplished, experienced, and capable in every way. Person, dog, cat, cow, that anyone would want to have as a president. Let's try to make that make sense, right? I don't even think I don't know if she has a 5th grade education, actually. I mean, in terms of her abilities, obviously she has. I'm not sure if she does, because who puts together a sentence like this? But anyway, so that's what Kamala Harris, the point is, that's what she said about Biden just a little while before we all saw he was falling apart at the seams. The media machine cried that the laptop from HE Double Toothpick is disinformation. There it is. Hunter Biden's story is Russian disinfo. Dozens of former intel officials say. And of course, now we know that's a bunch of nonsense. The Russia hoax. Bunch of nonsense. It was just like Donald Trump had nothing to do with Russia in terms of Russian shilling for Russia or whatever. That was proven. And now here we go. Candace Owens proves that this person that Kamala says is her grandmother is not, in fact, her grandmother. Proved beyond a shadow of a doubt. Watch that Candace Owens show. It's really, really powerful. It's like several shows. It's a whole series. Proof beyond a shadow of doubt. She just lied. She just took probably some folks that were the help to her wealthy landowning, uh, former slave owning family and said, "Oh, there's my grandmother." Now she won't say word one about it. And she stopped, by the way, repeating how she's going to be the first Black American president. I don't care what her race is. I don't think anybody cares what her race is. Who cares? But what we care is the length that she would go to to lie and get herself into the presidency. My goodness. I mean, her family, they should disown her as far as I'm concerned. Really. So we got plenty here. We got plenty here for our 4 X's and 4 pluses. Okay, moving right along. Amoral actions, actions with no conscience whatsoever. We've got MK Ultra. We now know that's a fact. There was and probably still is a CIA mind control program where they take individuals, usually children, and they torture them and they harm them until they literally make them into mind controlled individuals who will do what they say when they give whatever is the little cue to go do it. I mean, this is sick, but this is not. Listen, you could go look up the story of Kathy O'Brien. Go look it up and get her, listen to her. She's not kidding, okay? Diddy, you got Diddy. There's SEX all over the place, this guy's saying. So, and then we hear, wait a minute, is Diddy working with the 3-letter agency? Some 3-letter agency? And then we got, of course, Epstein and the rich and the rich and famous. And here we've got Prince and his name, Andrew. I mean, what the heck are these politicians and rich elites doing? They got the young girl here. My goodness, she doesn't look like she's much over 16, if that. And then, of course, make sure you get all your boosters here so you too can wear silverware on your body when you make it a metallic thing. My goodness, my goodness. And of course, now trans story hour. Let's have the children go sit in the laps of all these men pretending to be women. You know, okay. Uh, when I used to go and read story hour for my children, no way I would have put a child in my lap. It's completely inappropriate to put somebody else's child in your lap to begin with, whether you're a woman or a man or whatever. But now, my goodness. So not unless, of course, you know that other child and their parents and you get to know them and all that, and then they feel comfortable. But this is just unbelievable. We used to tell you to be afraid of strangers. Now, if the stranger is dressed up like this, like with all these colors and their boobs hanging out and everything else, that person is safe. Really? And in the schools, we've got, of course, the trans story hour, the boys and the girls bathrooms, the sex changes for children before they even know who they are, what they are. You've got pornography in the library, which describes in explicit detail sexual activity between children, and they have it in middle school. And of course, dividing the kids on race with the critical race theory. I mean, my goodness. Talk about amoral actions, actions without a conscience. Whoa, we got tons and tons and tons here, but let's go ahead and give it our 4 X's and 4 pluses. Now, bribery, threatening, and blackmail, obviously. Right? Okay. Rudy Giuliani, arguably the greatest mayor New York ever had, must now give control of luxury items and his Manhattan apartment to Georgia election workers. For what? Where is Clinton giving her money to election workers when she claimed that Trump stole the election from her? Where is that? Where is I think it was one of the Bushes that they made a big fuss about election fraud. They had to re-audit the entire thing. It wasn't George, it was his brother, I believe. It was the one that came after George Bush Jr. What, for lack of a better word. That one, I mean, where is he giving his money to the election workers? Because he dared to suggest that there might be any form of fraud. I mean, this is sick. You've got corrupt judges. They're just, like rubber stamping. If they're told to do it, yep, there you go. And we know there must be bribery. There must be threatening. There must be blackmail. Because why would they do this? You look at all these people with Epstein. They're all these known figures, right? Now, there must be This is why he was doing it. As we understand it, that is why he was doing what he was doing with the children and whatnot, to get as much footage as he could so he would have control, blackmail control, whenever it was needed by whoever's running the show. That's a really good question, right? And then you got Judge Enron, ridiculous. Any lawyer with it worth his salt says that is the most ridiculous case that has ever come before a justice system, and they can't even believe that it was rubber stamped through and he was convicted. What? And he loves that camera though, little Mr. Enron. Let's give it a big smile because everybody hate. Never mind, I won't say it. And of course, over here, well, of course, there's that connection. Look at those big smiling faces of Obama and Epstein together. And of course, from the Hunter Biden laptop, we learned all this money is flowing in. It's flowing into the big guy, right? Who's the big guy? Who could the big guy be? That's a good question. And then we have, this is kind of cute. Obama is leaning over Biden saying, Soros just called. Kamala Harris is your VP pick. I mean, who is behind? I mean, we know Obama's up there. We know Soros is up there, but who's behind them? Who the heck is telling them in their ear what's supposed to happen? Okay, certainly we can give our 4 and our 4. There's no question about that. We could give a lot more. We could fill up the whole page, right? But let's just move along. Mock rigged elections. Now, my friends, some of you really are still disbelieving this. I'm going to challenge you. Watch either one of these two. This one called Absolute and then Proof. This one called 2000 and then Mules. Screenshot this. You see our birdie there? Take a screenshot here. Okay? You come back, I would do it now because, this could go away, right? So, I challenge you, watch either one of them. I don't care which one. They're both talking about completely different things. One is talking about the stuff that was going on inside the innards of the computer systems and all of that, which was accessed by the internet. And the other is talking about and they have proof. The other is talking about what was going on with, people dumping ballots into various places, Either one of these, if you can watch either one of these and still believe that that victory should have gone to Biden, listen, all power to you, but I don't think you can. I don't think you could watch either one of these and believe still that that was a fair election. So I challenge you to watch one of those. Don't let them tell you what you can watch and what you can't watch, because this is like just no-brainer stuff. It's so obvious in either one of those. Meanwhile, you had USPS confirming a truckload of 288,000 completed ballots went from to New York to Pennsylvania in 2020. USPS confirmed it. Now, I saw personally lots of videos, but I'm just picking a few. And it was just like videos that people make on their cell phone, guys. It wasn't really well-made videos, these things that we were watching. But in one of the videos, there was a woman feeding ballots into a machine. She's fed the ballots through. She walked away, did a bunch of things, came, picked them up from the bottom, fed them through again. She walked away, did a bunch of things, picked them up from the bottom, fed them through again. She did this over and over and over and over and over again. And I'm guessing those ballots were not for President Trump. That's just my guess. There was another video, a woman telling her story of she went for a walk. She was one of the election helpers, and she went for a walk, and she has to walk around the building several times, to get her time in or whatever. She walked around the building. She saw a truck load a bunch of guys messing around with something. So she walked around again. She saw a truck, big truck, and a bunch of guys in the back messing around with something. They were writing or something. She went around again. She saw the truck and a bunch of guys, and she noticed at that point, geez, they've got all these boxes and boxes, and they got pens, and I think they're filling out ballots. They were filling, and the minute they noticed that she had sort of stopped and really took a better look, they stood in front of the thing, and they all, stopped, They were filling out boxes and boxes and boxes of ballots to go put in to wherever they put them, the drop boxes or whatever. Kid you not. One video saw the voting site was closed down. Oh, there was some kind of a rupture in a water main or something like that. We have to close it all down. Closed everything down. And then the alleged cleaning staff, they're mopping the floor, sweeping the floor, whatever they're doing, dusting, blah, blah. All of a sudden, half an hour later, they pick up the aprons or whatever, the drapery that is over the tables, and they start pulling boxes out, pulling hidden boxes out, and they start feeding them into the machine. I saw it with my own eyes. You might not find it anymore because they've been busy getting all this stuff off the internet. But I saw it in the video with my own eyes. I'm telling you. So again, here we go. Plus, 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 plus. Take a screenshot here, by the way, so you can go to those videos. Plus, 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 plus. We've got it there, too. So we've got mock rigged elections 4 and 4. Again, we could do so much more. I want you to remember that when we get to that part that it applies to. Victimizing the helpless. Okay, of course, as we saw before, these, teaching children that, anybody who's a man in a dress with pretty hair and big colorful costume and the boobs hanging out is totally safe. And the little girl already learning over here, oh, I'm going to be gay because that's really fun. It's got pretty colors and all that. I'm just going to change my innards so I can never have babies, but I'm going to have the pretty colors, right? This is so sick. And by the way, you want to look up a group, Gays Against Groomers. So many gays are not down with this. They see exactly what's going on. Not only, it's grooming, okay? It's literally grooming. And what do they want from that? What could you possibly want from making a little girl or boy think that a man in a dress is safe? Think about that one for a while. We know what they're doing in the Diddy parties and the Epstein and all that involving children as well, by the way. What could they possibly want? Over in another country, by the way, they'd like to lower the consent age. I think it was France, brought forward, I don't know if it went through or not, but they brought forward on the floor of their parliament or whatever, a bill to lower the age of consent to 12. So good. We can get rid of pedophilia completely by just getting rid of the fact that it's illegal. We could just make it legal to sexually interact with a child. How sick is that? We talked also about critical race theory. That's victimizing of the helpless. I've looked into this Planned Parenthood. I wasn't against abortion all my life. But when I started to look into it, I saw, it looks to me, is Planned Parenthood really just a baby body parts factory? Like, they get tons of money. That's how they stay alive. That's how they get their paycheck. Is to make sure when you go in there, you don't go any other way except let me have your baby so I can splice it up. I hate to say it, but it's true. Splice it up and sell the parts. My God. And it's millions and millions. It's just unbelievable. We've got the CIA, the MK Ultra, and our children. Here's a picture of doing something that they were doing in that picture. Who wants to know? I don't. And then we've got the springing up of the school shooters, right? We have to wonder, because by the way, there's connections to a lot of these to the three-letter agencies. They've been in communication with three-letter agency people, usually retired, quote unquote, and then suddenly they shoot up a school. And the CIA has this mind control program. This is very interesting. And then, of course, why does the media ignore the trafficking of children? We have so many pictures of it, right? We had a video, I kid you not. In the video, somebody took on their cell phone clandestinely when nobody was looking. You had children over here, a bunch of children, their best 15, whatever, not looking very good, okay? And you had somebody overseeing them. I believe he had a weapon, okay? And over here, with two guys next to the truck, thousands of dollars changing hands. I kid you not. That's a video I saw. Where is it now? Who knows? Probably gone. But meanwhile, just so you know, President Trump, when he came in, he began creating human trafficking and child trafficking um, uh, policing agencies to go out there and save these kids. And he saved them. He saved tons of them. We don't hear about that. We don't hear one word about that on the mainstream media, right? Why is that? Tons and tons of children were saved through the coalitions that he created, the forces that he created, and the media ignores it. And now I'm going to show you the most disturbing image. It's the image that comes from the bottom of that one that I showed you that the senator had reposted, where I can't find that article anymore. It is disturbing. It bothers me still. Do not let your children watch this. Please take them out of the room right now if they're here. This is cited in a news article, right? And at the time when I shared this once on Facebook to wake up people to what is going on, we used to do that during the time when I was young. You saw the pictures of Nazi Germany and the Jewish people, like the bodies upon bodies upon bodies, in the mass graves, because they wanted us to know and to never have it happen again. But you notice now we're not allowed to show things like that. So when I tried to show this, to say to people, this is what's going on, that was taken right down. It's as if they don't want people to know about these kinds of things. Meanwhile, I'll tell you the story. There was an online news story about the raid of an Evergreen ship. I don't know if the actual ship's name was ever given. It could have been, but it was an Evergreen ship. And that was around the time of 2021. And the point was made that this ship, these children had been found in these containers in horrible states. Some of them had not made it, and literally made the policemen there who were dealing with this cry, right? As we understand it, it was President Trump, right after he left office, who had found out about this, got the intel, and gave the intel to his coalitions, who went out and raided this truck and found those children. And FY, just so you know, Evergreen, the Evergreen Shipping Company, is partly owned by Hillary Clinton. Now, I did hear at that time that one of the ships is also named Chelsea, but I can't verify that now, so I'm just telling you I heard it at the time. So here is an image that was under that article I showed you, which was reposted by Senator Ray Blunt. And the full article, if you read further down, stated how children are trafficked, including in these large metal shipping containers, and some don't make it. The whole article has disappeared. Now, I don't know for an assurity that this was actually the image from that Evergreen ship, but I do know that I thought it was. I was pretty sure at the time that it was, but now can't find word one about it. So here is the image. I'm sorry to show it to you. I'm going to just, when I show you the image, I'm just going to send light to these dear ones that we lost as I do it. And I'm also sending light to the ones that were saved. This is very moving to me because my life was severely impacted as a child by some horrible experiences. It may be similar to what these ones experienced. And it's been the drive of my life to have this stop, one of the drives. It's one of the reasons I want to create the earth of love, the earth of joy, so that this will stop. And of course, we ask the question on this: where is the mainstream media? Where the heck is the mainstream media? I won't force you to watch this for too long. I want to remind you that many children were saved. Many, many, many children were saved. So we have that going for us, okay? In those coalitions that President Trump created, many were saved. Okay. Seeing it up there in full Technicolor, it's not so very easy. Okay. So let's get back to the question. Seeing all of this. And remember, we went way, 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 way on the low side with those X's and pluses. Do you think there is an attempt happening now to collapse our free society? Now, let's say that some of you are a little skeptical. Okay, some of you maybe are skeptical. Okay, let's say you are a skeptical person out there, a little bit skeptical, and you think, well, I don't believe all of what you said. I'll maybe believe half of what you said. Okay, what if you out there only believe half of what I said? And this was way on the low side to begin with. Here's what you have. Do you now believe there is an attempt to collapse our free society? Now, let's go one step further. Let's say you're super, super, super cynical and you get, okay, you've seen some of the things happening and all that, but you're not going to give me credos that to believe that even 3/4 of it. You think 3/4 of it's nonsense. All 3/4 of it, throw it in the trash. Still, if you only keep 1/4 of what I've told you and you believe 1/4 of what I've shown you, you still have this. And it was on the low side to begin with. So, do you think there is an attempt to collapse our free society happening now? So that was number one. We just did number one. We finished number one. Good job, me. Good job, you. Clap yourself on your back if you're still watching. Good job. Good job. We consolidated and we made sense of these diabolical happenings, at least in the way I believe they make sense. And I think probably many of you, having seen that and seen all that you've seen and heard all that you've heard, probably think so too. So now we're going to look at number two, to provide concrete ideas for how we can impact the direction our country is headed in, individually and or together. And thank you for hanging tight with me all this time, by the way. So let's see. What are some of the ways that we can make an impact? Obviously, please vote for the righteous side. The righteous side. They're not perfect. We know that. Some of them are corrupt too. But at least we know that the majority is not corrupt. The majority is going to take some action on this stuff that we've seen. So vote for them all the way down the ticket. Now we know down the line at some point we need to get, everybody should know by now, by the way, we need more than a two-party system. And we know we've got to get to that. That's for sure. We're going to do it. No doubt. But right now, it's so important to get the righteous people in office. So vote that way. That's one possibility. What if you vote for the righteous side? By the way, you see my little seagull there. Please do take a screenshot of that. Okay. Another thing, they want to shut us up. What if we start and keep talking and we talk loud and we talk all over the internet? We talk everywhere. We show everything, show everything you can possibly show. If they want to shut us up, it's important we go the other way. How about we do that? That's another possibility. These are all, you could do all of these, by the way. How about sharing this video? If it moved you, it might also move others. Can you share this video? That would be a big help. And can you give it a like? Can you give it a follow? Can you, that kind of thing. Listen, honestly, this is not for me. I don't care about likes and follows and all that. I do what I'm now. If I'm tapped on the shoulder by that divine source to do something, I do it. Sometimes I don't want to do it, but I do it because that's the relationship I have with that God source or whatever. You want me to do something, I will do it. But it's not for me to get likes and shares and all of that. It's because I was given the understanding that this was important to get this information out. So when you share my stuff, I have a lot more on my other site, but when you share my stuff, it's from that perspective. We're sharing something that is meant to make a difference out there. What else? Would you like to work with me and others on this? I don't know what we would do. I have no idea. Let's get together. Let's brainstorm. Let's collaborate. We don't have to meet tons of times. We can meet, once a month or something. And then we go off and do whatever we can do in our various ways. But once a month, we get together perhaps and we talk about how's it going and what more can we do and all that. Would you like to do that with me? I'd like to do that with you. Those of you who have the same heart for making a difference out there as I do. If you do, email me, put in the subject line fed up. Now, this is a special email just for you, but please put the fed up there too, just so I don't miss it, okay? And what else? How about you go out and research and share from the uncensored sites? How about you go to Rumble, Telegram, CloudHub, Truth Social? They're sharing it all there. It's all there. You don't have to look very far. You can just type in, your keyword, and it's all coming up. So there's an idea for you. And then, of course, share it with everybody. So those are some ideas right there. And again, I'd like to create our little group. I'd like to create a little name for it, and who knows, maybe it gets to be really impactful in the world in the next 5 years. Who knows? Maybe it grows. Who knows? But would you like to start? If you'd like to start, then email me. Okay. How can you particularly support my mission? Okay, again, this is the perspective we're coming from because I've made all these videos. They haven't gotten near the watches they should. They get a couple thousand or 800 or 1,012 or whatever, but they haven't been on YouTube. So that's where I haven't gotten the audience out there. So you can go to my uncensored videos, watch those. There's so many of them about all of the happenings of the past 7 or 8 years. And then go ahead and share those wherever you can. I even made a video on how to share on the internet and slide under the radar. You can watch that video on that site. How to share on censored sites, and there are ways to do it. I'm not necessarily doing them all here because I need to get this information out. I hope it flies. If it doesn't, hey, it'll be on my other site, okay? But there are ways you can share all the stuff you see on my site and never get flagged by anybody for anything. So watch that video too. Follow me and share. Follow me on all those different places on About Lorelei and all the different things that I do. The social media sites and all of that. And financial support is much appreciated. I really can't do as much as I could to get the word out in my particular way that I'm looking to bring light to this without some more financial support. So that is much appreciated. And I have that course. There it is, Detox the Vax and Heal Anything. I was trying to think of the rest of the word. Oops, I said that out loud. Oh well. I'm telling you, this business of trying to slide under the radar is difficult, but Detox the VAX and Heal Anything. So that's a powerful, powerful course. It is one of my expertises. One is because I've done natural healing on myself and I've learned so much about it. And I've healed some serious things, right? Serious things that you think will never be healed. I have healed and I've learned a lot about natural healing. I'm not a doctor, but I am very knowledgeable about natural healing. And I put that together with the body, mind, spirit component from my 20 years of personal growth, coaching people, and having them see their blind spots and all of that. So it's a very powerful course if you've got anything to heal, or if you just want a very powerful conversation about your own blind spots and that kind of stuff. Believe me, it's all in there. Okay, there's a video there that you can watch, and then you would email me if you're interested. And then I have a meetup, Reclaim Your Youth Health and Inner God Power. That's where we just be in joy. We be in love. We be in the space of the divine. We do all the things that get us there. It's very fun. It's very joyful. Making bringing in the light and making declarations to have the divine come through us and work through us and all of that. It's just very, very delightful. And honestly, here's the thing. If you could spend 80% of your time in those spaces, with the divine, with the love, with the joy, with the peace, with the bliss, etc., 80% of your time in those spaces, and just 20% in trying to clean up the mess that's out there that we just spoke about in this whole video. That's kind of how my life is. 80% of the joy and bliss and love. 20% I got to deal with the grind, but we've got to do it because it's up in our face. We must do something about it. But as we know in personal growth, we want to put the focus on the world we are creating. Be in the space of love, peace, harmony, bliss, joy, and all that. So that meetup is where we're doing that. So I really, really want to invite you to do that. Okay, I don't think I have another slide here. No, I don't. But I did want to do, just to finish this out, just a little song that came to me. I'm also a singer. I love to sing, so might as well do it, right? Hang on a minute. And I hope that this song maybe will put you, for your day, in that kind of space that we're talking about, in that joyful, uplifted, upbeat space. So here we go. Let me find the key. Where do I want to put the key? This is the day. This is the day that the Lord has made, that the Lord has made. We can rejoice and be glad in it, and be glad in it. Oh, this is the day that the Lord has made. We can rejoice and be glad in it. This is the day. This is the day that the Lord has made. So rejoice and be glad in your day. And that's what I wish for you. As we work on all this other stuff, the house cleaning, rejoice and be glad in your day. Okay, beloved ones, we will talk with you next time. I promise to do more on YouTube.